Hey, I thought I'd go through a great Who song, Young Man Blues. It's really kind of a strange song, actually. As Townsend would often announce before they played it, it's a cover of a song by Mose Allison. If you've never listened to the original, it is worth checking out. What's unusual about the song, right down to the original, is that it's really just a recognizable lick and the lyrics. And that's it. And Mose Allison's version is very short. The Who would extend it into quite a long jam, but there's very little structure to the song. When you get past the lick and the lyrics, there's not a chord progression, there's not an obvious time signature, so you're really on your own to figure out how to fill that time. The Who did it, played it lots of times over the decades. Each version was different, especially as they moved into the 70s and the 80s, really departed from what the early versions were like. So when you're trying to play it, you're really faced with some challenges. What I thought I'd do is give you a bit of the framework that you can operate in to help you come up with your own version. Now, the most famous version, probably the one on Live at Leeds. If you're looking for a great note-by-note tab for that, you can find it at Who Tabs. Just do a Google for Who Tabs. A fellow named Litgo did an amazing job capturing it note for note. But as I say, with all the different versions and so little structure, it'd be nice to have some guidance when you want to go ahead and forge your own version. And that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to break it down into pieces, tell you a little bit about the structure that there is, and how to elaborate it and make it a version of your own. Now, I think the first thing to do is recognize that the whole song is based off of the E minor pentatonic. In fact, those 5 notes that make up the E minor pentatonic really are the notes of the whole song. You can play the whole song, a 10-minute version, using just those 5 notes. Now, as we're going to see, I'm going to throw in an extra note or two just to help round out some of the chords we're going to use. But that's really it, and that's what's partly amazing about this song, is with 5 notes you can get something that's so powerful. So, looking at the E minor pentatonic, just doing it up here on the 12th fret for starters. We got our E, G, A, B, D, E. The 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and the octave. And you can do it up here starting with your E on the 7th. And down at the open position, which is where the main lick is going to happen. A lot of the work is going to be done. Now, as far as the chords go, there's actually a chord that you can use that gets all of those 5 notes into it. And that's one that is a staple of all the versions. The official name for it, if you're going to get technical, is it's an E minor 11th. And you can fret it in different ways, but the idea is basically to get the E, G, A, B, D all in there. One way to do it is get an E minor, actually think about doing a A shape chord, move it up, so what you're doing would be actually an E sus4. Get those 3 in there, and then get your pinky in to do the bottom 2 strings. You could also do it leaving the top 2 strings open. Alright, that's going to be the chord that Townsend goes to. Another place to do it is up at the 7th fret. You can do basically the whole thing, fret all of them, and then just catch the G here. Or you can do partial versions of it. What other chords are available to us if we're just using the E minor pentatonic? Well, you can got a D sus4 here where you've got G, D, A, D, A, E if you want to use all of them. Something else that gets used is an A5. Townsend often leaves out the 3 in his chords for reasons I covered in another video. So an A5 would just be the 1 and the 5 of the A chord, so the A and the E. Use the 4th and the 3rd strings. So too, for an E5, leave out the G sharp. You don't want to play an open G because that gives it an E minor, and that's not what he wants. But if you just fret the 2 notes you would in an E minor, but not hit the open G, so we've got and that essentially is going to be the chords. Now, as I said, there's not going to be a chord progression, but we're going to find ways to bring those chords in. All right, so there's the basics. Now let's turn to the actual lick and build that up slowly from a simple version to a more complicated one as it actually gets played. Now, what's most distinctive and recognizable of the song, of course, is the opening lick. What I want to do is break it down into different parts, go through a real simple, crude version, and then gradually develop it so you can bring out all the different dimensions. All right, let's start on the E. Now we're just going to do a simple version in different parts. So the first part is E, so E, B, A, G. Now we're going to develop that and elaborate on it, but that's the gist of the first part. And if you listen to Mose Allison, he's doing it on the piano. He's doing it pretty much just like that. Now here's the second part. Again, simplified, but we're going to expand on it. All right. E, B, D, E, B, D, E, E, B, D, E, E, B, G, E. Now, the second part, actually, I'm going to start there. The way it's actually going to go, to make it a little bit more complicated, the way Townsend actually plays it is, you do the first part, which we'll come back to. That is, instead of just doing the basic E, B, D, E, I'm doing a little pull-off. E, D, pull off, B, back to the D. And then the second time through, we're going to hit the G to get to the low E. Now the first part, we started with the simple, but what Townsend actually does is, he starts with the E, and he gives 2 partial chords. So instead of just the B, he throws in the D. That's really, if you were thinking about a G chord, if this is our G, we've got our 3 and the 5 of the G chord. So that's the first one. Then the second one is a partial A chord. Now here's a place where we get finally a note out of that minor pentatonic. We get the C sharp in there. Little pull off. We go. All right. And he does shake it up and vary it, but that's the gist of it. Now, one of the ways in which Townsend shakes it up is, even on the Live at Leeds version, he doesn't do that full lick that we just went through. He does a simplified version. Really, even after the second or third time through, he goes to a simplified version. And that's going to be really just playing around with that partial A and an open. Where we end up with that partial E that I was talking about before. Now, as I said, there's really not a stable time signature, but if you want to think about the rhythm and counting the rhythm that Townsend uses, when he's playing this lick, it's really of the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's going to change that when he gets to the jam, but that's something that can help ground you when you're trying different versions of that opening lick, when you're playing around with it, as they come back again and again to that lick or variations of it. All right? Now, what else can you do? You've done that, you got the lyrics going. Eventually, you're going to be looking for something to add, to shake things up. So here are some ideas based off what happens on the Live at Leeds, but also lots of other versions that you can listen to. Now, Townsend, as really a rhythm player, he's most comfortable when he's playing chords. And eventually in this song, he does turn to single note soloing in the traditional sense, but he's going to try to do as much chord work as he can. And one of the things he goes to immediately after the opening licks, which themselves, we just saw, involve some chords, is this move. We've got our E minor 11th, which he often uses after the lick, after Moon's doing his little drum solos, the following the opening lick. But eventually, once the lyrics are done, it's time to get really to work. So we've got our partial E. All right, different variations. We're essentially just using that partial E, that D sus4 that I mentioned before, and the partial A. I think the rhythm, at least that Townsend plays, really changes once they break out of the repetition of the opening lick. In the jam section, he's often playing a rhythm that's got more of a feel of a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, what makes this song really unique, but also a tough one, is that it really involves quite a lot of risks. Because there's not a set chord progression, Townsend is really often leading the way, and the drummer and Entwistle as well really have the task of following him, as he's setting the rhythm by either the chord work that he's doing, such as what we just went through, or when he's going to the soloing. He changes it and shakes it up, and sometimes the versions work and sometimes they don't. The Live at Leeds is probably most famous because it's just such an excellent version where it really does work. The version that plays at the Isle of Wight concert is another great one. Some of the ones where it doesn't really come off, say there's a performance at 74 Charlton, where I think, as he himself admitted, he was really too drunk to play well, The song just doesn't come together. But the onus is really on the guitar player here to set the rhythm. So there's some ideas for some chord work that you can do. Now eventually you're going to run out of options for the chords and time to think about using some soloing. So here are some ideas for some soloing. Again, using the E minor pentatonic. Now one thing you can do is simply just replicate the stuff we were doing in the open position and the notes we were playing around with down there. Just move it up and do it up at the 12th position. You know, got your E minor pentatonic up here. Classic Pete move that he likes to make is just using the D and the E, bending the D up to the, really to the E. All right, so you've got that position. Something else to keep in mind, an E minor pentatonic has the same notes as the G major pentatonic. So if you think about the G major pentatonic, G, A, B, D, E, G, same notes. So you can move yourself up to the G position and play around there, and that's something that he does as well. All right. Now you can go on in all the ways that you can think of at different places. You know, you got your E up at the 7th fret, play around up there too. Eventually, if you go on long enough, you're going to find yourself running out of moves to make. It's a strategy that guitarists often use when they're playing say an E minor pentatonic or pentatonic, is to vary the major with the minor. So you can throw some licks in that shift from the E minor pentatonic to the E major. And a nice move that he makes, and this is one that Litko does a great job on his tab of Live It Leads, is this little move. One of Townsend's favorite chord shapes is to take an A shape and then add on the makings of a D. Or as in, Who Are You, as I explained in another video. It's really kind of an A minor 7th shape that you add on to the little bar that you get from, say, an E or the A-shaped bar. Now you can do that, and one of the things he does at Live It Leads is get your A on the 14th fret, and we're going to use that little move. And we're going to think about it as a lick in major pentatonic. It'll go something like this. So it's that little D shape or A minor shape pulled off to the A, then back, and then a little trill from the G up to the G sharp, and that's what makes it the major pentatonic. And again, you can find yourself shifting back and forth between the major and the minor just to shake things up. All right, so there's some ideas there for soloing. And finally, the way the song ends is with Daltrey building momentum with the lyrics. till we get to saying that the young man ain't got nothing, he got sweet, and you get the return of that E minor 11th. A nice way to wrap up the song. All right, hope that was of use. Remember, the chord work is going to be really essential for laying out the structure and the framework of the song, but feel free to try to vary it and find some creative moves and some creative timing and use of the limited palette that you've got with the E minor pentatonic, but with enough practice and creativity, you can forge something interesting on your own right. All right, take it easy.